Hello, this is Jimmy Lennon Jr. and a big shout out to my friends at Valera Boxing. It's showtime.
Valera Boxing, idol, shout out.
The Saturday, April 16th, Isaac Pitbull Cruz of Mexico will face Yuriorkis Gamboa of Cuba as the Premier Boxing Champions 12-round co-feature of Spence versus Ugas at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. In the US, Cruz versus Gamboa and Spence versus Ugas will broadcast live on Showtime pay-per-view. Isaac Cruz boasts a record of 22 wins and 2 losses with 1 draw, 15 of those wins by knockout. He's coming off a unanimous decision loss versus Gervonta Tank Davis in December of last year in Los Angeles, California. The veteran, 40-year-old Yuriorkis Gamboa has a record of 30 wins and 4 losses, with 18 of those wins by knockout. Gamboa is coming off a unanimous decision loss versus Devin Haney in November of 2020 in Hollywood, Florida. Magandang araw mga kaibigan. Hola nasa Pilipinas. I'm Chris from Valera Boxing, and I'm joined by Monty. Monty, welcome. Kumusta? How are you?
Good to be with you, Chris.
Good seeing you. Both Cruz and Gamboa last fought the elite of the 135-pound lightweight division, the current premier division in boxing. Isaac Cruz, fresh off of his impressive performance versus Tank Davis, is back in the ring fairly quickly. In our opinion, that's a good idea, as he takes the positives from the Tank Davis fight and tries to climb the lightweight ladder to get back on that big stage. Yuriorkis Gamboa, last 2 fights were for the lightweight title. He fought for the WBA championship versus Tank Davis and for the WBC title versus Devin Haney, respectively, both resulting in a loss. Gamboa was scheduled to fight Chris Colbert in July for the interim WBA super featherweight championship, but pulled out with a rib injury. Monty, your thoughts on Pitbull versus Gamboa this Saturday?
Well, you know what, Chris? I think it's going to be a very exciting matchup. I love the energy that I think we all really became fans of about the Pitbull and Mr. Cruz versus his fight against Tank Davis. He took him the distance while being lightly regarded, but now the spotlight's on him. Can he do it again? Can he, with the spotlight and, let's admit, probably favored to win, beat a crafty veteran? You know, although he's past his prime, you know, Gamboa still remains a very seasoned, crafty veteran who has all this, you know, fundamental skills that most Cuban boxers have. So I think we're going to see a clash of styles, and I think we're in for a really good fight over in Texas.
So immediately after the Pitbull versus Tank Davis fight, we were thinking about what should come next for Pitbull, and we all agreed when this fight was announced, this is a perfect type of fight, a good resume building type of fight for Pitbull. A fight where it's certainly a challenge, but at the same time, the style of these 2 fighters kind of fits his own style and what he's looking for a next possible win. For Yuriorkis Gamboa, who, if you look at his resume again, very deep, and like I mentioned, literally his last few fights were for a world title. This is a co-feature on what is a heavily anticipated matchup between Spence versus Ugas. So this may not be the main event, but the lights will be bright for this one. It'll be bright for both of them. Gamboa is not unfamiliar with this type of stage. With Pitbull, there was certainly that new renowned fame that he experienced when he did lose to Gervonta Tank Davis. A lot of folks thought it was a lot closer than just a flat-out loss. It could have been a draw, and some folks actually thought he possibly won. But he did gain some fame. He became famous walking around LA with Sean Gibbons. We saw him at a Laker game, and folks wanting to take pictures of them. So everyone knew who Pitbull was after that fight, and he gained a lot of fans. But now the spotlight is definitely on him, and that he can't fly under the radar anymore. We did this video where we were talking about the best of the 135-pound division and how it's now the premier division in boxing. How do you think Pitbull stacks against the elite? Obviously, he fought one of the elite in Cruz, but how do you think he stacks up against the rest of the 135-pound lightweight division?
Well, I think he stacked up very well. I think he could give matchup problems to pretty much all of them, by virtue of the fact that he has a relentless, aggressive style. He counterpunches well. He has deceptively good head movement and deceptively good defense. And frankly, he can take a punch. He took, I know that there's been some talk that Tank Davis was a little hurt or, fought most of that fight with an injury. However, Isaac Cruz definitely took some big boy shots. And the fact that you need a chin in that division, with really talented, hard-hitting sharpshooters, not just Devin Haney, not just Tank Davis, but Lomachenko could put a little mustard on it. Likewise with George Kambosos. So I think if Cruz, this is a great matchup where, although he did lose in the last fight against Tank Davis, but a good showing here keeps him relevant, and also keeps his name active as an elite or as a top 4, top 5 lightweight.
And again, that's why we think this is a good matchup. We were just talking personally about that fight versus Tank Davis. He did lose, and we mentioned that we didn't want him to be the lovable loser, or at least, he gave it a good try. We just came up short, or, good effort. He wants to win. He's in there to win. So this is a good opportunity for him to make some noise and to put a stamp on his resume. Let's talk about the specific styles between Pitbull versus Gamboa. You mentioned Pitbull took a lot of shots, and he clearly has a great chin. I mean, even after that fight, during the fight and after the fight, he just looked completely unfazed. Like he didn't get into a brawl at all, or he just didn't get into a fight at all. He looked clean. He looked fresh. He looked ready. So that certainly bodes well for this type of fight against someone who's more of a boxer. Gamboa could look to brawl, but I see Yuriorkis Gamboa fighting off of his back foot most of the night. How do you think Pitbull approaches this fight versus Gamboa?
All right. Well, just to flash back a little to that Tank Davis fight. No other fighter other than Isaac Pitbull Cruz has landed that many shots. I forget the actual total, but he set the record for any individual Tank Davis opponent. Likewise, he can bring that accuracy and aggression and volume to a fight against Gamboa. It's going to be a very exciting fight. And I agree that Gamboa will probably fight it on the back foot. One of the things that has always haunted him and that makes him kind of just professional is very limited punching power, and also a lack of an aggressive killer instinct. Even by Cuban standards, I think that Gamboa has always suffered from a very conservative, lackluster approach. But that will not be the case with Isaac Cruz. Isaac Cruz and the Pitbull. He's going to bring it, and I think Gamboa's starting approach will be to dance and to run. But if the Pitbull cuts off the ring well, I think we could get a stoppage. Crawford knocked him out. I think Cruz could knock him out.
With Yuriorkis Gamboa, like you mentioned, some of that is certainly Cuban style. He fights off of his back foot well. Good boxer. He'll load his right hand or load and wait for his right hand to throw it. But a lot of time he'll throw out a jab to measure, and he'll, if he does get into trouble, he'll be on his bike. And it is frustrating, like you said, because he does have a lot of good boxing talent, especially in his prime. But he just perhaps doesn't have that killer instinct, like you mentioned. At the same time, though, he's a dangerous fighter, and anyone's dangerous stepping into that ring, especially at this level. But with Pitbull, he's just going to put his head down. His forehead is just going to go straight forward into Gamboa's chest. He doesn't jab much. I think we talked about that too.
Yeah. That's right. He has a record-setting low direction for almost no jab.
He just does not jab at all. He just comes forward and just wants to wail. For a lot of other fighters, you would probably think it's careless, but Pitbull gets away with it. He's just relentless in that. He's literally a Pitbull. That's just the way he fights. So I think that nickname and his alias fits him really well. So let's talk about Gamboa's keys to victory then. I think we talked a lot about Pitbull and what he needs to do or can do versus Gamboa to come out with a victory. What does Yuriorkis Gamboa need to do to come out victorious on Saturday?
Well, he has to fight the perfect fight, and that means by boxing, using his deep Cuban pedigree, sound fundamental footwork, decent jab. He can get punches to flow. He can punch in combination, but he has to when the moment presents itself, he has to deliver some of those really hard shots to keep Cruz honest, because otherwise he will get steamrolled because it took so much of Tank Davis's great natural abilities to keep Pitbull off of him. Gamboa doesn't have a lot of those skills, so he's going to have to work that much harder by working his jab, using angles. Cruz, because he doesn't jab, he is there to be hit. And, a good, decent jab and good foot movement, you can steal this. He can get this on points, but he has to be extremely careful. And like I said, get in some of those hard shots because the judges will not give him the fight if he's constantly on his back foot.
I think another interesting point with these two fighters are their height, with Gamboa being 5'5" and Cruz 5'4". I mean, Tank Davis was 5'5", and the height between Isaac Cruz and Tank Davis was talked about quite often because Cruz is actually a shorter fighter than Tank Davis, where Tank is usually the shorter person in the ring in any given fight. So there's, again, a lot of similarities with their two heights. There really isn't much of a height advantage. There's a boxing versus aggressive brawling style set up here. And I like you said, I think Gamboa just needs to fight that perfect fight. If Cruz comes in careless, he could catch him. He could catch him with a counter, catch him with his hook, he's an excellent fighter off of his back foot. Again, that Cuban pedigree, that Cuban style is something that he does have in his back pocket. So he could certainly use those skills to come out victorious on Saturday. Again, just to repeat, what do you think Isaac Cruz's keys to victory are?
Well, he can't overlook Gamboa. He has to take this match very seriously, and I have no doubt that he trained as hard as he can for this particular fight. Attack the body. Basically, take the same fight that he took to Tank to Gamboa that he took to Tank Davis. Maybe a little bit more jabbing. Maybe hopefully he's worked a little bit more on his defense so that he doesn't take some unnecessary shots. And the judges can see some of that. And yeah, to stay aggressive, stay focused. The key to victory is to work the body and make Gamboa feel every bit of his 40 years of age.
I think Isaac Cruz is a durable, strong, fearless fighter. He's going to come forward, like we mentioned. He's going to come with his forehead on Gamboa's chest, with his chin down. He's going to go to the body. He'll attack up top when he has to, and he just won't stop. He's just going to keep coming forward. And I think those two, they see stylistic fights. Well, I think the style, especially with Gamboa's age and his inactivity over the last couple of years, and he's coming off some, high profile losses, but they're still losses, and they were years ago. But I just think Pitbull is going to be too much for Gamboa. So I kind of set ourselves up for a prediction there. Monty, what's your prediction for Saturday?
I think we have a knockout by round 10, within 10, everybody.
Yeah, I think this one finishes actually before 12 rounds also. So I have Pitbull as well over Yuriorkis Gamboa. Leave your comments and let us know who you think will win this Saturday from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Yuriorkis Gamboa.
Let's go, guys.